Okay, so starting off, I know that it's not perfectly centered and therefore the symmetry can be taken down a little bit, but Ahmed, if you can just remember this very, very important rule, and that is make sure that the symmetry of the face is relatively balanced. So either side, this side and this side, both have a relative balance. Of course, you're not going to find a face that's perfectly symmetrical. That's impossible. Nature has its flaws, and that's how it expresses its flaws, through symmetry. Sometimes it breaks the symmetry, and that's where beauty comes in when you have one eye that's a little bit less open than the other. For instance, let me show you how asymmetry can be beautiful, just so that I don't really bash on asymmetry, just so you can you see that I love asymmetry as well. I just have to remember the actor's name. The illusionist. One second, bear with me. I forget his name, but his face is incredibly asymmetrical, but it's so beautiful. It's just, let me see. Crown Prince Leopold Rufus Sewell. There we go. You guys will know him once you see him. And his face is very, very asymmetrical. But as you can see, sometimes the asymmetry works very, very well. You see how one lip is out more than the other? The cheek lines are very different. The eyes are incredibly asymmetrical. If you won't be able to tell this if you're not, used to the the whole profile. I mean, portraiture world of art. But these tiny, delicate little asymmetries really go a long way. But that's not really what I'm saying here. I'm saying sometimes asymmetry can break the image. Sometimes asymmetry can cause a little bit of trouble for the person who's viewing it, and they won't have such a great reaction to the image that you're drawing. Okay, that's one. So I'm just going to fix that. I'm going to show you how to fix that. I know her face is leaning back a little bit, but I'm going to show you where the asymmetry is there, just so you could see. Okay, babe. Typing, man. Okay, so the asymmetry, if you can notice it, is this area is much longer than this area. And what happens, it becomes a weird asymmetry, as if her bone structure underneath her face has caused this very strange asymmetry. So the way to fix that is very simple. Without disrupting the image or your strokes, without starting the image all over again, just go into Liquify tool. That's the difficulty of being, drawing digitally. Sometimes you don't know the mistakes you're making. And try with the Liquify tool to really fix the symmetry a little bit. The asymmetry. Just a touch. Make sure that it's still asymmetrical. You're not going to try to make each side perfect, or else you just flip the image horizontally, which isn't good. But make sure everything is on the same bone structure, that the muscles aren't different on either side. It's the same face. Okay, and you're going to see the realism really pop out now. I'm going to try to make the eyes just a little bit symmetrical, a little bit on the right, areas. And now look at this. It's still the same image. Well, it's okay. Mouse or tablet, it's the fact that you're using a computer really breaks the hand-eye coordination that comes with art, which is really important. It's all about the hand-eye coordination. But let me show you what the difference is. Before, after. Do you see that, Ahmed? Before, after. These measurements that you make, that you give like 2 minutes to do, these measurements are very important, and they make the image go a long way. If you don't use these tiny little measurements, basically what I mean is drawing a line down the middle in the circle, oval that you're going to draw the face features on, and making sure you have the horizontal and the vertical lines that distribute the features across the circle, which represents the face. So before, after. Okay, that's number one. Number two is the colors. The colors are very off a little bit. So what I'm going to do, what I mean by off is, let me show you what I mean. They are very warm, they're very beautiful, but what I need to do is make sure everything has a similar color to it. So what I did was I got a color layer, I put the mode on color, I got a new layer. I'm just going to unlock this. And let me show you what a color wash will do for the image. Here's a color wash in purple. Do you see how dark that face is? Here's a color wash in blue, green, yellow, and back to pink. I like the pink one because this way when you use the layers, you can, if you want to reestablish that green, all you have to do is erase at the layers just in the areas that really have the sunlight reach them. So the areas that are really saturated. But how can we have sunlight if there's no sunlight on her face, if there's no saturation on her face? There seems to be sunlight coming in from this area. So I'm going to merge that down. I'm going to try to create a light source. Whoopsie. Try to create a light source that will give me something to work with. After I have the light source, I can just go in there and illuminate all the areas of her face that the light is touching. You've worked well, showing where the shadows are. This is really good. You followed the image perfectly. But what you need to do is keep on going. You stopped too early, Ahmed. And we need to see where this light source is coming from. I'm going to get this desaturation, which is the sponge tool, and I'm going to desaturate some of the shadows to keep them a little bit cool. You don't need much color skin tones in this. You don't need much at all. And then I'm going to get the color layer again. It really depends on what kind of layer you want to use. You can use soft light. And I'm going to bring in some of that yellow. On to the skin. Just in between those areas that the light is touching. I know it's impressionist. I know there's, areas where you want to keep, similar color. You don't want, to have realistic colors. You want that impressionist one color look. But what you need to do is make sure you have a little bit of everything. Don't, take everything out. You need some of those reds, because those reds will reinforce that tone that you're going for. And what we're doing here is we're using the colors and the flowers found already. I can just drop tool the flowers. That way you have a unified palette. A unified palette simply means that you have the same rules of color happening throughout the image. Well, you can still color it. I mean, it's just really easy. I'm doing it right in front of you. You can just get a color layer and apply the color there. You can change the color completely for the face. You can go for a blue or like a turquoise. Let me see what this will bring us. It'll bring us back to the grayscale, which is a bit dark. So what the other issue is in final, this is optional for you if you want to do it, is to lighten the face a little bit more because it's a bit dark. It's really, really dark in some areas. Okay? And that way you can play with the colors a little bit more as well. See what you can do. Damn it. Give it a little bit of a warm tone, a green tone. I don't suggest that. Blue tone. But you can desaturate. I mean, she doesn't have to look like a Smurf. But what I would do is I would go back to the tone we had originally and give it just a bit of yellow. And that's it. To take the image further, I'm just going to add in some shadows on her face from her hair, from where the sunlight is hitting. So a little bit of shadows here. And a little bit of shadows here, because the hair is casting a shadow. Right there. And that's that. Okay? And I'll just do a before and after for you so you could see. Save. Before. Do you see how the colors looked very muddy? Moonset. Do you see how they looked very flat? Very dark. Everything was very, very dark. And let me take you through what I did. I reestablished the symmetry. So this was before. Let me zoom in. This is after. You see how the face seems balanced now, like it was melting to one side, but we pushed everything back up. That's what happens when you use measurements. You avoid these kinds of problems. I introduced a color layer, or I changed the hue completely with Control U. And I 1 sec, I'm just getting a call. And I started fixing the colors a little bit, making them all the same. Introduced the light source. Introduced some more colors. Brightened up the face. Changed the tone a little bit and added some shadows, and there we have it. This has a lot more realism in it. Do you see though? It's like photo style, where you actually respect a little bit the light sources that are involved. Here it was way too dark. Even if the character was dark, the light will illuminate them, and you as an artist have to make sure all the values are the same. Okay? So I'll just save this and send it back to you. Let me find you. There you go. And now for this one. Whose is this one? Is this Trom? Okay, we're gonna go straight into liquify. Yours? Okay, good. We're gonna go straight into liquify, but before we do, I'm gonna explain to you what I'm gonna do. Right off the bat, the main issue is that the way you design this head, it's to everything gravitates towards this chin. Everything seems to be pulling towards this chin. So when you painted it, you didn't know what to do. Excuse me, I have a stomach problem right now. Oh, my stomach hurts. I don't know what it is, honestly. Maybe it was a Chinese food. I'm gonna stop grossing you people out. So when you colored it in, what happened was you dragged everything down, even the mustache, even the nostrils, even the nose, because that's how you were coloring. And the issue wasn't that you think all faces gravitates towards the chin. No, it's because when you colored it, you didn't know where to put the shades. So here, the way you could have shaded this guy is a lot differently, and this doesn't much look like him. It looks like somebody else because of the way you colored it. So I'll show you what I would have done. The first thing I would have done is, do you see where you put his cheekbones? Do you see this and this? This is the height of the cheekbone. All the light is supposed to hit these areas. Why is your light all the way down here? I might ask. That's the first question, Trom. Okay, I'm going to ask you. I want you to ask yourself, why did you drag the light all the way down here? If in the original sketch you planned on the light being, I don't know, if you planned on the light being there, that's the question number one. And these questions sort of answer the issues. They lead you towards resolving the problem with the image. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if the chin was formed this way and everything revolves around the chin, and you've already designated this area as a light source, why is there no shading in this area? Why is there no designated shading? That's number two. Number three, my biggest rule, Trom, is never go too detailed too soon. You're using big brush over here in this part of the country, but in this part of the country, you're using the tiniest little pixel brush. It's unbelievable. I don't allow you, if you want to be, if you want to reach professional status, and if you want to, reevaluate your painting process and really get the best out of it, always work from big brush to small to small to small to small. This promises that your image is going to be unified in detail. Do you know what that means? Unified in detail? It means that you're applying the same amount of detail everywhere else. If you don't have detail in the eyelashes yet, you're not going to have detail in the beard. If you don't have detail in the ears and the hair, you're not going to have detail in the cheeks. If you're doing spots like this, I should be seeing pores, skin pores that you're actually painting in. This is what I should be seeing, but I'm not seeing that. And that's because you have an inconsistent painting process where you're going into tiny, tiny, one pixel size brush way too soon. Okay? So now that we've, addressed all of those issues, I'm just going to go in and fix them accordingly. So I'm going to because his face looks like it's drooping down, as if he's too old, but he's very young. Look at what happens to the face once I do that. I'm going to try to get some shadows in here, trying to get the brow shadow, thicken his eyebrows up so he doesn't look like a cross-gender performer. I don't want to sound rude, but if you know what I mean. If you're intending for some very macho, masculine kind of image, kind of person, then you want to give it some hair. You know what I'm saying? Make sure it's not like super duper cut. I don't want to sound rude or anything like that. But as artists, we have to think visually, and if we're thinking visually, we're judging people from the outside in. I'm sorry. I mean, if you're painting book covers like I am, books are judged by their cover. So that's what you have to make sure you're applying and giving the right message. Let's say, make sure you know what you're painting. So I'm just going to thicken up the eyebrows. Because this area here needs some shading. It's like a hole in the skull. It's going to have some shadow in it. Why are holes dark? Why are caves dark? Because there's no light inside. Okay, I'm going to block out. It seems when people paint nowadays, they really paint as if the eye sockets have been carved out and you're drawing a mask. Make sure you have the right amount of shades in the eye socket area. It's not a mask, it's a face that has grooves and valleys and mountains of light. So you have to make sure you have everything that you need, anticipated. So when you do paint, you're painting while considering all the anatomy and all the form. Okay, I'm just trying to get some shadows in here. I'm keeping my brush the same size. I made a mistake by shrinking it for the eyebrows, but I tend to have a real passion painting eyebrows. Okay. And now for the nose. The nose here, the way you drew it is you didn't really show that the nose has a rising point. The nose has a rising point, and what happens is that because it rises so high above the face, it casts a shadow all the way down here. His nose is also too small width-wise. What you need to do is thicken the nose so that you can show some sort of form in this guy's face. Give him some real macho thickness. The men's skeleton is a little bit more condensed and, not condensed, I don't know, big than women's. And so you want to show that, biology. Okay, what I'm going to do in replacement of all these beautiful little dots that you did, I'm going to, excuse me, old lady moment, I'm going to shade it in. What I'm going to do in a moment is desaturate the area around the beard into a gray, because if you look at someone who's recently shaved and has a very, noticeable stubble, there's like a green haze all over the area of the beard. And so you want to do that. You want to create that effect. I'm going to put some light spots there. I'm going to put some shading around the beard so his beard doesn't look like it's just completely, shaped with like a tweezer. Has a bit of roughness to it. And finally, I'm going to jump into the liquify tool and show you how not to make the face gravitate towards the chin. What I'm going to do is thicken the jawline. I know you might not have wanted to paint such a macho looking guy, but I'm going to show you the extreme so you know where to not, how to, measure it. How much macho-ness you want, how much femininity you want. And I've done so many videos about how to construct a face to seem more feminine or more masculine. So really take advantage of that and see what you can get out of them. And right now, everything is very rough. Everything is very early. And you don't need the best values here. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, we have all of the major areas taken care of. And that means that all of the major issues, which is value, form, anatomy, symmetry, they're all considered. Because sometimes we go straight into detail and we skip all of that important stuff and we ask ourselves, why doesn't this look good? Why don't people, favorite this in the thousands? People respond to realism. They really do. Okay, so I'm going to get the sponge tool on desaturate to get down from 100%. Jeez. I'm going to desaturate the area of his beard. Do you see how it looks realistic now? Hi, Wooden Horse. Nice name. Hey, Black Lotus. Do you see Trump? And this is all because I'm thinking about the skeleton underneath the skin. I'm thinking about all of that important stuff. And I'm not letting myself forget that I need to establish good form and value early on. But listen, Trom, you're not going to be able to do that if you jump straight into a one pixel brush. You need to keep your brush large. Keeping your brush large promises that you're going to be able to cover large amounts of space and shadow and light. That way you can create the big, big sizes before you go into the small sizes. Here's a trick, Trom, and if you want your art to change completely, exponentially, drastically for the rest of your art career until the day you meet your maker, you think of this, and you think of this all the time you draw, okay? If you were sculpting and you had a piece of clay, would you get the toothpick and start drawing the eyelashes? Or would you form the face first? Meaning, not the face, screw that. Form the head first. Then form the cheekbones. Then get into the skeletal structure. Form where the chin is. Really just chisel at the marble or whatever. Just carve at it. What else would you do? Then you would go into the tiny little, areas where there's grooves. Where is that? The nose, the nostrils. Make holes for the nostrils. Then you'd start to introduce a little bit of grooves into the eye sockets. Actually, with your thumbs, actually push into the eye sockets to create the grooves of the eye socket, to push in, and then allow some space for the eyeballs. Make sure that you have some space above the eyes for the brow bones. The brow bones are higher. All of this, thinking about it three-dimensionally, Trom, means that when you jump into 2 dimensions, you're going to be still thinking, remember, in that 3-dimensional way. That means you're never going to create a drawing that is flat, and all of the drawings that you're ever going to create are going to be beautiful. Why? Because you are still thinking about the form. You haven't forgotten the form. A big mistake that a lot of artists make. I'm so sorry that they do. But they think 2-dimensionally because they think they have to in order to paint 2-dimensionally or draw 2-dimensionally. We can never draw 3-dimensionally. You have to, model. You have to get a modeling program to do it 3-dimensionally. But when we're drawing and we have a pencil and paper and we just like drawing, how are we going to make our images look good? It's by thinking 3-dimensionally on the 2-dimensional surface. How do you do that? Think sculpting. For the rest of your life, Trom, think that you're sculpting but with a pencil. And you're sculpting with the pencil on the paper. What are you going to draw first? You're going to draw the head shape first. And then you're going to start sculpting in the sides. You're going to create some areas for the eye socket. Here's the cheekbones. You're going to jump into the chin. Give yourself some area here. And then you're going to keep carving. I'm sorry for the horrific drawing. You're going to have, carve away, and you're going to have a bunch of clay here because of all that you've taken out. Imagine that you started off with a square piece of clay. Okay? What do you need to take out? Think about this. What do you need to take out and what do you need to add in? Do the cheekbones need to be a little bit more risen? Do the eyebrow bones need to be a little bit more risen? And this face can go a long way. This is just one brush, one size brush. Imagine what I can do if I use this size brush right now. Imagine what I can do with this size brush, or this, or this. But they have to be in sequential order. You can't go small and skip all of these important tighten brushes. Okay, think of it like that. You have to follow the simple rhythm of art, and if you forget it, and if you neglect it, and if you think it's not important, and if you think I'm just an old hag talking to you about some old hag back in the day stuff, then you're not going to improve. And that's a lesson for all of you who are listening. That's just not for Trom. Make sure that you're following that very, very important step, or multiple steps brought into one step, which is contemplating the form in 3 dimensions. Okay? And now if we overlap this guy on top of here, we're going to see that they match a little bit. I do recommend you think about the way the eye is measured. The way you draw the eye is a bit, the eye closes off a bit too soon. If I were you, I would just keep the eyes a bit wider, because the eyebrows, look where the eyebrows end, and the eyes used to end all the way here. Keep the eyebrows within this area. And there's so much more that goes into this, and I have to teach you about the 3rd, 2nd, and 4th quarters, and the 3/4 view, and the 2nd quarter, the front view, and the back, and there's so much involved with it. that I can't go do it all in one lesson, but think three-dimensionally and you will not make any more unnecessary mistakes. There's some mistakes that you need to make that are necessary in order to learn, but there are some mistakes you can avoid because you've already learned how to avoid them. So don't go backward, go forward. And I'm done with my metaphors. Okay. Hi, thanks for accepting my friend request. Some of your work on YouTube and I was very impressed. Very good. The link to the stream is .com/Easterbreak. Okay, Trom, I need to know that you're still breathing. Because I haven't had a response and I'm scared I scared you off. Sorry, I was typing. Okay. You mean you were taking notes? Oh, awesome. That's just, I love that. I love when you guys are actively listening. There's some people who just listen passively, but there are active listeners who take notes down and not let themselves forget. I'm very proud of you, Trom. Ooh. Very good. Okay. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to save it. And if you want to add my Skype, please feel free to do so. I do not bite. And I can send that back to you on Skype. Just no inappropriate. Oh yeah, by the way, there's some people who have been uploading this disgusting, raunchy, nasty pictures on the Skype chat. I don't know why. I don't know what leads people to think that that's art. I'm sorry. Just because you draw something doesn't mean that you're allowed to draw nasty shit. Art is a craft, and abusing it, you know, for me, drawing nasty crap like that, I'm sorry, I have no other word for it, is abusing art, abusing your power to illustrate. There's so many other ideas you can be emulating that don't have nothing to do with naked people or women's genitals. If you want to upload stuff like that, don't upload it on our group, please. Have dignity as an artist, okay? Art is more than women's body parts, all right? Okay, next up is Rindu. Okay, Rindu. Very good. But a tiny little issue here, I think I got the small one. It's okay. Is the light source is coming from here. Okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sort of illuminate, if you understand the pun, or if it's called a pun, is I'm going to bring in some haze with a soft brush in this area. Does this look like, does something look wrong to you? Something does look wrong to me, which is this part of his forehead seems to be avoiding all possible light. His cheekbones seem to be avoiding light. The side of his nose. You know when you put a flashlight under your face? Flashlight horror face? I don't know what to type. Google is my teaching assistant. Excuse me. Where is it? Okay, here. Do you see how all of the areas that face the light seem to be illuminated? So what you need to do to create the, emulate the further aspect of the horror genre that you're painting is to remember that the light is coming from underneath him, and that's always ominous light used in cinema, used in photography. And so in art, there's no exception. You still have a canvas. You still have edges of the photo or painting. And you need to remember that some areas are lit up. And since it's his face, there's some areas that we can light up. However, I know that you want to create a sort of a glowing face. I mean, a glowing eye look with dark face, and you can only see the face barely because of the glowing light, let's say. Okay, how would you do that? You do it by throwing in some darkness near the top. Now look what that did. But I think that he's fat, his cheekbones aren't even showing. The thing is with the uncanny valley is that you can break all the rules. If you made his face fat and chubby, then he'll just look like a big oaf. Nothing really threatening about a big oaf with a small head and a big chunky face. However, a big chunky body with a really scary skinny face, as if all of the, all of the fat burning happens in his brain, and that's where he, I don't even know, contemplates human torture. I don't know. But for me, making everything big and round isn't going to really work unless you're painting a really ridiculous character. And I know that sounds like a dumb rule, but the more you paint, the more you're going to work with people's characters and character design, the more you're going to notice people respond to big round oaf more than as an idiot or as an unthreatening character versus big round oaf with creepy cheekbones the size of his fists. It's like the uncanny valley intends on breaking the rules, and in order to break the rules, you have to know what you're working with. Again, you have to know the rules before you break it. So you're just following that. If he did have cheekbones, and he was very chunky, if he didn't have cheekbones and he was very chunky, the point is to make sure that light touches that area nonetheless. So what I would do, if you wanted to keep his cheekbones and you want to have that kind of character, go right ahead. But his cheekbones are acting like big reflector beams, and they're still going to attract some light. So he's still going to be attracting light, at least on the bottom areas of the cheekbone, of the cheek here and here. And since I added light on the top, it's going to attract the attention towards the eyes, which are ominous and threatening, which I'm going to darken up. Burn on shadows. Oops. And then make sure that if you do want to keep him in darkness and not show too much, make sure that you have a nice little silhouette going on. See how effective that is, Rindu? See the kind of effect that it creates? It's really foreboding. And what it does, this light source here, what it does, it reveals his intestines, which you should sharpen, because wet surfaces, if you use sharpen tool to emulate wet surfaces, it'll just create even more nastiness. Don't forget the power of the sharpen tool. Okay, I'm gonna sharpen his blade and then give it a bit of a sheen. Just a bit of a glow. And I'm going to throw in some glow on this blade here. Again, more foreboding. And then finally, remember the 3D quality that I'm talking about that you have to have in your images. Light is going to reflect around the sides of his body, creating that secondary light source clash of lighting. So you have light here, and then what happens is like a line of darkness in between. Because it's a clash and the shadow doesn't know where to go, it goes in between the two lights. And then it keeps on going here. And what that's going to do is create even more realism. And if he's wearing that lab coat, it's probably going to be really shiny. So you might want to have in some shine reflected off. Okay? And make sure you have some all the way across his body. You know, it might be the moon, it might be a street lamp. But if you have this, he'll come out from behind. He'll come out of the darkness closet. I'm sorry, bad joke. He'll come out of the darkness behind him, and then his form will be revealed out through this way. And it just completes the composition very well. Do you see that? What I'm more bothered about is the bottom part of his gut. It looks like it's like a sheet rather than actual skin. Bottom part of his gut. And I'm not sure, since I tried some textures, but it doesn't seem to work too well. Do you see? Do you mean here? By the way, Henry Birmingham. Sorry, are you present? You can send me the or link me the what's it called? The image that you want me to look at. Is that an apron? I'm not sure what area you're talking about. This area here, it looks like a sheet, really? It looks like intestines to me. I really don't have a problem with this. If you do have, oh wait, this is, oh, okay. This isn't a sheet. This is what the issue is. I thought it was a shirt. And then the shirt was stapled. Okay, he's naked. Okay. So we need some nipples up in here. Got some nipples here. Got some nipples over here. Okay, I'm just gonna highlight his nipple from the side so that we can see it, because it seems to be disappearing out. Because of the secondary light source, it'll be revealed. So yes, it looks like a sheet. You know, it doesn't hurt to use references. So let me show you what stapled skin looks like. It doesn't fold, because skin isn't like a sheet. It's attached to a layer and attached to a muscle and attached to another muscle. It never folds like this, which is why you're having trouble. So remove the folds, and then you'll have that soft surface to work with. But what happens when a soft surface is broken and it's sort of, hey Henry, welcome. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. What happens when that soft surface, it breaks and dries up? Think of it like that, Rindu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create that broken, dried up, crusty, ew, it's Halloween almost, crusty skin breaking that happens, you know, when you're staple skin. Alright. So the thing is, it doesn't really stretch, but what happens is that it sort of it doesn't want to stretch when it's cut that deeply. It sort of stays open and it dries up. So to create that, what I'm going to do is create some tears. And then, you can only really do this when you have blood involved. I really don't want to show what oh my god, Jesus Christ, Mary and Joseph. Okay. I'm going to start creating breakage in the skin. Not so much folds, but crusty, dried up tears. I need a more detail brush right here. That's the train, sorry. Okay, and I'm going to create more breakage. And what you need to do is show how evasive these staples are. And so these staples seem to be attached only on the outer, parameters of the skin. So to really show how, penetrating they are, what you need to show is show them that to be a little bit more than the skin. And what I'm going to do is add a little bit more shine to the guts. I'm sorry for those who are grossed out by this. And finally, to show that it is a gut and it's a big fat chunky guy, I'm going to make his fat, because remember, skin isn't just skin, it's fat rolling down onto everything. And so what this is going to allow me to do is show where his fat is collecting. So you see that, Rindu? And yes, textures will work. Hair, adding hair, pubic area will work. More tears like this will work. And so what you can do, because I know the issue is with this, is imagine where the light doesn't reach. And so what I'm going to do is create a shadow. Tiny little shadow, not that big. And then shadow up this area here. And finally, this, you see the way this is circled? To really show the skin folding and crusting up is to place sort of wrinkles where all of the fat collects under that area. I'm sure his skin isn't smooth. I'm sure he's got his fair share of stretch marks. I mean, it looks like he's had 8 babies already. Okay, a couple hairs here and there. Nice curly fries. And you've got some nasty detail to show your beautiful audience. Okay? It seemed like Abomination, basically. Dota 2 is a... Okay? And then get some light and start creating some shine on the skin. And of course, Rindu, don't forget you're going to color this as well if you are. And you can use reds, and you can use purples, and you can use yellows and greens, and you can really create that, you know, crusty skin look. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about if you ever had a gash on your knee. And just keep creating those wrinkles. I mean, there's nothing stopping you. And if you want to create that stapled look without it looking like a sheet, the way you shaded it was very soft, you know, like a silk sheet. It had silky ends, and it was all like soft-ish. You had like the silky part here. This is how you shaded it before, which is what made it look like a sheet, because you were using a soft brush, or I don't know what you were using, but you were using it. Remember, skin is brittle. It tears very easily. It's not silk. And so what you need is smaller, sharper folds. Smaller, sharper folds where the staples hit. There will be bending and folding, but it won't be that soft. You'll be a little bit more gross. Hi, Tenethal. Welcome. Another thing that you can do, and this is only if you want to do it, I'm not forcing you, is to do this fun little trick, which is all the areas that have been dragged in, give them a nice little groove over there. Do you see what that did? Before it was very soft, after it showed sort of where the staples were creating that contraction. That's if you want to do it. And then finally, just as a big addition, his body seems to be pushed off the symmetry line. So what I would do, I know it's sort of across his body. I know it's not perfectly symmetrical, but I need to know that his haunch and everything is sitting on a, you know, kebab stick, and that it can stand by itself. Okay. So before it was a little bit side heavy. After it's a tiny little addition, but it does make a bit of a difference. Okay, so save. Don't forget, sharpen tool goes a long way. So before, do you see how it looks a bit cartoonish? And the background doesn't always have to be lighter than the object. It doesn't always have to be darker. It can be somewhere in the middle, or a gradient is involved because you're cinematic here. You want to have light only from the bottom, shine from an LED light or something. The director's like, give me more gash, give me more grossness. Think of it like that. Think of the 3D quality transferred into 2 dimensions. And this seems a bit more detailed. And I'm just going to brush over with a sharpen tool to get those details back, because liquify steals details. Okay, and I'm just going to end it there. And you can take these, you can take some. Really, it's just some sort of, you know, feedback to bring the character to life. Give it a bit more of a Halloween glow. And remember, when you color this, start off with a wash. Don't start off with the skin tone color and then give a background a green color. You have to make sure everything has the same undertone, which is like I suggest like a green or a blue. Throw in the green or blue with the color tool finger. I recommend like a greenish blue. Throw that down. And then work after that, because that's what all of the grayscale to color professionals do. They throw in a color wash and then go in, and you can change this color to absolutely anything. You know, it's your choice, it's your creation. Yellow and murky, red, purple, all the colors, gay parade, I don't know, whatever you want. Okay, I'm just gonna save it and send it back. This was from someone who emailed me, a very cute little email, And they sent me after watching the skin video. And by the way, that video has gone like really popular. I don't know, in like a night and a day, it's gone like, I don't know, it hit from 7,000 to 11,000 in what, like a week? In a week, which is really weird. I don't know how that happened. But I need to find Rindu. So yes, those who want to add to the class, to be a part of the class, please refrain from uploading inappropriate stuff. There are very underage, less than 10 years old, in the group who just look around and message me privately, ask me about, some of the, but they're too shy to speak in the group. So you really have to think in a a very polite way. How would you act in public? How would you act in a group or in a lecture hall? That's how I want you to act in the group. This is not a private, anonymous, go for it all group. This is for art, and this is for art feedback and, personal growth. It's not for inappropriate talk. If you wouldn't walk around with your sketchbook with inappropriate drawings on it in public, you wouldn't do it here. And that's that. Okay? Just try to keep your dignity as an artist. Don't sell yourself off too soon. You're gonna get paid if you don't. If you don't choose that side of art that everyone knows about, you're gonna get paid. Don't worry, you're gonna find an audience. Okay, Henry, did you send me anything to look at yet before I go? I'm just gonna do this one and I'm gonna call it a night. You can link it if you upload it, if you take a picture of it and it's a file on your computer, if it's on Photoshop, whatever you do. Okay, so for whoever this is, rule number 1, do not use a 1 pixel size brush for hair. There is a way to paint hair. I've made a video about it. Watch that video if you don't want to hear me babbling on and on tonight. For those who already know this lesson and are tuning in, I know you're probably sick of my voice. And someone made a comment on one of my YouTube videos. You need to calm down. You sound stressed. Calm down, take a breather. I'm like, dude, I'm not. I like to repeat. Repetition is learning. And I like to force my students to repeat and think about it. I mean, that's what it is. You're sitting there for hours painting something. And I happen to be talkative, so that's going to happen. I'm going to repeat myself. Oh, thank you. Up. I'm thinking it's sort of nasal and non-cute. But let's go on with this. Her eyes seem to be very shocked. This is what she would look like if someone was shocking her. So what I'm going to do to ease that down is get a nice dark tone and just brush it up over the eye. What that's going to do is just soften up the eye, allow us to work a little bit more with a very relaxed expression. She looks like Lady Gaga before. Lady Gaga fans, power to you. But opening up, try to look, I dare you to go to the nearest mirror right now and open your eyes fully. Do you see any eyelid on your eyeballs? On the what's it called? You're not going to see it. And that's what's scary, because people don't like to see what they normally don't see, which is the uncanny valley. It's a very scary thing to do. You do it when you use eyedropper. And that's about the only time you've ever find it necessary. So what I'm going to do is just soften up the eyes. And there's a very delicate shadow that I talk about, and I talk about it in the video, in the How to Paint Skin video. And what I say is there's a shadow of the upper eyelid that goes onto the area of the white part of the eye, let's call it, the cornea. And this part softens up the eye. Okay? And I'm just going to soften that up. Her eyebrows are also responding to that shocked look. So what I'm going to do is just bring them down and thicken them up a little bit. That way they, represent a bit more form. Did a whole lecture on eyebrows and how eyebrows really frame the eyes. It's all in the eyebrows. And lately in fashion, thick eyebrows have been, all the rage. It's because there's so much you can do with thick eyebrows. With thin eyebrows, it's a deficit, and you have to stick with them, and you can't do anything with them. I'm going to go into the liquefy tool, and I'm going to push the eyes up. They seem to be drooping just a touch. I'm going to have to upload this so they can see. Can't forget. And I'm going to create a nice little shadow here. And then the outer area, right under the hair, this whole area is shadowed. You did put a little bit of shadow, but you need it just a touch more. And similar to what I said about Trom's image, you need to know where your cheekbones are, where you plan on putting them. You can't make the whole cheek lit up with light, because that just means that she's very chubby. So what you have to do is just create a line where you know the cheekbones are going to start, which is this line. I'm talking about this right here. Cheeks are here, shadows are here. Rule not broken. If you follow that rule, you'll always create a beautiful, glamorous looking face. Sorry about the typing. I'm going to create a tip in the nose right here, just by creating a nice little... If you guys have watched the nose video, I talk about, you know, the infamous Bob and Steve and the wife that cheats on Bob with Steve. It's just a retarded... I don't even know what that was, but people have been remembering it and it's working. So yeah, don't forget to paint the wife area of the nose, because that means that the tip of the nose is considered and that it's moving outside of the face. I'm going to get a nice dark tone for the nostrils, which are the closed, not the closed bracket, the two slits that I talk about. I'm going to add in a little bit of light here, some of the Cupid's bow. And you can see the form just coming to life. You don't, it gives you, the effort you put in, you'll see it. It'll show, I promise. If you just follow those tiny little rules. I know rules are sucky and everybody hates rules nowadays, but a little bit of rules, you know, goes a long way. And there's not much room for mistake once you think about form. Okay. I'm going to paint the bottom eyelid just like we paint the top lid. We paint the bottom lid. Why do people neglect the top lid? I don't know. Some people are racist. Bad joke, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to create a nice little tip of the eye here. Give the nose a bit of elevation, so some light on the nose all the way up to the bridge over here. A little bit of darkness. I'm going to add some on her forehead. But I like when the light is sort of going, the darkness is sort of going this way and this way. So only her eyes are visible. You know that 40s style lighting in movies? I'm going to add a little bit on her chin. And, very, very important rule, please don't forget it, the corners of the mouth are part of the 6 corners that really bring the image to life. Oh, she looks like Daenerys. Beautiful job on the lips, though. I really love them. Beautiful job. I'm going to add in a little bit of skin on the edges. Just look at what I did. Really just pay attention. Look at the form that comes out. Before, after. And all I really added was just 2 bunches of skin here and here. And what that does is that it... Let me see if I started going crazy. Okay. What that does is it pouts the lips out. So they seem like they're actually, you know, there, and people really enjoy looking. Gonna add a bit of shadow here. A little bit of light on this corner where the light reaches. Just think of all the places the light is seeing. Imagine the light is playing peekaboo with the face. Which areas are hiding and which areas aren't. I'm gonna look at yours in a second, Henry. Daniel Faust. I critique anything that you want me to critique at. Yeah, Black Lotus, they really do. Okay. And now we're getting a bit more form. So the eyes, I'm having a little bit of trouble with the eyes, and the main reason is that the size wasn't considered when you started painting. You went straight in the way I did with the image. I probably in the video should have told you, please plan this before you start. And do you see the form? Does everyone see the upgrade, the evolve? If this was a Pokemon, probably evolved like 2 stages. This is because you're using form. You're thinking about, remember Tron, 3D part. I'm thinking about sculpting. This is why when I paint, I tell you guys, I'm not painting, I'm sculpting. I just ran out of clay and I only have a pencil and paper. Okay? Yes. Not for sensitive viewers. I don't know what that even means. Okay, I'm gonna now shrink my brush, shrinking my brush. Gonna play with the eyes a bit. And of course, everyone loves lashes. And I can't really express it enough how important makeup videos are. If you guys want to get better at drawing faces, by God, go look at makeup videos. Pixie Woo were really good. They're really beautiful girls there. I don't know who to recommend, but just look at makeup videos and you'll see really what goes into painting a face. And it's so funny because the makeup has a special thing called shimmer that you can get in stores, and it's specially meant to be placed in all the areas I've told you are the light spots. So you place the shimmer that you buy at MAC or something here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up here 7, all those areas I tell you to put darkness. And to balance out the nostrils and areas, you get eyeliner. Why do we get eyeliner? And place it on the eyes. Why? Why has that been popular all these years? It's because it defines the eyes and balances the dark spots and balances the negative stuff. Okay? So, yeah, by the way, Daniel, you can post the link here if you want. Okay, so we're just going to look at a before and after. I'm sorry if my painting is messy. I just have to cover so much information over a small period of time, so people don't think I'm panicking, or people think I'm panicking. So before, do you see how the eyes looked shocked? It was scary. Not to be rude or anything. It was scary because you kept the eyes, you painted it good. I mean, if I wanted someone to paint something scary and someone scared, I'd hire you. Whoever painted this, I'd hire you. But that's not what I'm looking for. If I'm teaching you and I want to create like a nice mellow face that someone would pay you for, because basically in the end I just want you guys to get paid. I want you guys to be good enough for people to pay you for your work. That's what I want you to reach. I want you to be able to make money on the side to feed your kids with. And in order to do that, you really have to learn how to paint a very basic face. So this is after. Before, you know, I added that nice Hollywood sensual glow. I know. I've just been into that lately. But before, after. Look at the form. Look at what eyeliner does. For God's sake, it's a miracle. Before, after. A lot of form, a lot of personality, a lot of realism, but good enough so that people can approach it in a very, it's very cartoon people friendly, let's say. Okay, and I'll save this and I'll send it to you if you want to add me, whoever this is, add me on Skype, and I'll send it to you there. Okay, so this is Henry Birmingham's adorable little drawing of a mother and a child. Okay, Mama and Marjorie. That's cute. One issue I have with this, when we do portraiture, have you ever seen, Henry, I have a question for you. Have you ever seen a photograph done by a professional, has to be professional, that is cut off where the baby is? Probably the most important part of the image is where the baby is. Have you ever seen this before, Henry? Have you ever seen, honestly, in all honesty, have you ever seen a professional photographer cut off one of the characters that he's being paid? So, let me show you what I mean. Art is photography, and that's the bottom line. That's why the two are so interchangeable. Let me find out how this is so... Baby. Okay. Baby and mom. Okay, let's say it's baby and mom, this one. This, I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. This is your personal lesson for today, Henry. Would the image be as effective if I crop this out? It still looks good. Yeah, but it's all about the woman. Tangents are bad, okay? Why are you trying to pull me into the tangent? Don't. You know me. You know I love tangents. Now how about this? Does this make sense? No. Why though? How about this one? This one looks okay. Why does it look okay? Because Henry, when you draw something or take a picture of something that has a face, people naturally want to see the whole face. When you have someone who's showing only their eyes or someone who's showing only their lips, what does that do? That creates a very intriguing little element that we add in art, which is called mystery. So think about Assassin's Creed. For God's sake, if you see the fan service created for Assassin's Creed, if you've seen the crazy girls, the hormonal freaks that go crazy for that, you think about the power of withholding parts of the face. But if you withhold a chin, if you withhold this side of the face, it's not good, because what it does is just creates discontinuity. If you're writing this down, write that word. Discontinuity is what happens when you avoid painting parts of the face. No, you weren't being lazy. I'm not sure you were being. This is very well done painting, and don't sell yourself short. You weren't being lazy. What you were doing, though, was just you didn't notice that you needed that area. But now that you have someone showing you, an audience member, which is me and everyone else here who wants to add in something, they're showing you that, hey, wait, what's wrong? Why aren't you showing me the face? This is very well drawn. I want to see the rest of the face. And that's it. You just have to add a couple of blotches of color, and you've continued the face instead of achieving a very unappealing discontinuity. And it's just a couple strokes, and we have the baby's cute little head. Okay? And what does that do? That finishes the image. And we have a picture that is beautifully framed. Next up are the sizes of the features. So you want to make sure all the sizes have been measured and considered. Her face is too large for her head size. Her head size is fine, but her face is too large for it. Face meaning her eyes, nose, and mouth. So what I'm going to do is push down her face so that it can have a very realistic symmetry to it. And you're going to notice the beauty of the image comes through, because the human eyes, they're very, very vain. They like to see symmetry. They like to see, sorry, I was holding my chin. They like to see that things are finished. Remember the continuity thing. They like to see that everything is nicely measured, and this like crazy brain of ours is satisfied with the measurements, that never stops thinking, is satisfied. Okay, Henry? I want to make the eyes more realistic. I'll show you in a second. Okay, if you want to make the eyes look more realistic, what eyes do when they look at something is they cross a little bit. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. When someone is zoned out, like if you're a professor and you're looking out into the class, the way you know if someone's paying attention or not is if their eyes are a bit separated from each other. But when you focus on something, for instance, hold your finger, everyone, hold your finger in front of your face and put your eyes, look at your nail. Now move your nail in more and more and more. You know what's happening to your eyes? They cross. Why is it that we can cross our eyes to look at our nose instead of crossing our eyes outward, which makes no sense? They're not going to be crossed. They're going to be separated. The furthest that the eyes can go is just the medium point, where they look like they're not looking at anything. They're just zoned out, which is when they're looking straight. But when they're focused on something, they're a little bit inside, looking at the finger. Okay? So if you want to make her look like she's looking at something, give her eyes a bit of a crossed look to them. So what I would do is just go into Liquify, make my life a little bit easier. It's difficult enough as it is. And just push the eyes forward. Look at how they look like they're looking at something. Do you see that, Henry? I recommend you write all this down. I know it's easy I forget this stuff. What I'm going to do next is, you see how you've painted the bottom eyelid? Why did you neglect painting the other eyelid? You have this nice eyeliner or mascara shadow. You need that here too. Symmetry. It's a given. If you want to create beauty, sustain the symmetry. And ask yourself why images of Quasimodo or people who have asymmetrical faces are related to ugly, which is a very evil word, but it's related to ugly. That's because our vain eyes need symmetry. I'm going to add in some shadow from her eyebrow all the way down. I need to zoom out. That is way too close. Look at that. Did you see that, Henry? You'll see with the before and after. And I'll upload this on YouTube so you can follow it step by step. I'm just going a bit fast for time. I'm going to add in some shadow here. The eyes don't look realistic because look at the shade of the eyes. They're almost a pure white. What you need to do is give them a nice little realistic yellow haze. And remember that shadow underneath the eyelid, underneath the top eyelid. That is a very important shadow. I'm going to add in a bit of light on her eyes to make her look like she's looking, to give her eyes a bit of a, a light. I know she might have black eyes, dark brown I mean, but you are the artist. You can control everything about this drawing, and this drawing will reflect your talent. So what I'm going to do is just add in a bit of light. I'm sure the shot of the flash of the camera, if it's a good camera that is, if it's not a bad camera, causes a nice little glow. Do you see that? Who was in the queue after Henry? Anyone? No one, Daniel, if you want to. And then a little bit here. For the eyes, a little bit on the inner corner. I'm telling you guys, makeup videos are your savior. You will improve exponentially. If you want to take it from me, go ahead. Just going to add in a bit of light under. Do you see the realism? A tiny issue here, which is with the lips. They're too low. I'm going to increase the density. I'm just going to push the lips in a little bit. Get them closer to the nose. And then finally, push in to the chin. And look at that. Just done. Oh my god, do I sound like Bob Ross? Gonna put some little footsies here and put some here. And we have that. This is all. I can do this. And it's not like a magic. I'm not calling a demon to paint this for me. The reason why I can do this is because I am not underrating the power of physics. I, as an artist, have not denied the power of physics. I understand that there are certain physics involved, and I know that word is very scary to some people, including myself. There's certain physics involved in understanding the way a face works. I mean, there's a reason why we study faces, and it's because they're actual objects in biology. That ear is a bit retarded, I'm sorry. Earring, I mean. It's because I understand there's form, there's shadow, there's light, there's values. And if you want to learn the definition of each of these, watch all the videos. I'm not trying to plug in my YouTube success. I honestly don't know. I don't care for YouTube. But I had to find a place where they would be uploaded without getting deleted like Livestream had been doing. I'm going to add in a bit of a shadow under the nose right here. And of course a chin light. Beautiful tones though. Can anyone else hear, like, a round of applause for the skin tones? Do you have any idea how difficult it is to paint African skin? That's a really rude word. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. I don't want to say the black. That's just rude. But do you know how difficult it is? I can't do it. It's so many green and red and purple and beautiful tones, very rich, go into them. And they're very difficult to paint because you have to make sure every single one of them is in the same value. Okay? I became an artist, so I don't have to deal with physics. Well, you're going to have to. It seems I have to cut the class a bit short. I'm very sorry. Happy little trees. I'm very sorry, Daniel Faust. Actually, I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to look at them. I'm gonna try to look at it. Okay, so before we do, Henry, I taught you everything I know, and I explained every single little step. I didn't just paint over it and say, yeah, man, you need to add this like color here. What I did was I explained every single thing to the best of my ability, every single stroke. I explained why you need, do you see that? Do you see that issue? You cut it off too soon. You didn't measure the features right. The features aren't measured. I mean, you haven't given yourself a decent amount of math. I know everyone hates math if you're in art, but you gotta make sure that you measure it. Everything is measured nicely and balanced in symmetry. And now you have this.